Hello, and welcome to an adventure like no other. Far more than what you have known, there is something far more to be known than you can ever know. And it is all about you, the real you, your real awareness with your intuitive senses. You were never taught that the real you, your real awareness, is operating 5 bodies in cause and effect, restricting creation. You have been taught to think that you are only a one-dimensional human person, with a mind and emotions, and with a very short lifespan on this planet Earth. More than what your mind can grasp is your intuitive senses that can be opened to see beyond all your restrictions. You have always had an opening to see beyond what you have known, and this has been purposely kept from you, and this is where you have heard rumors and stories about your nightly dreams. Your so-called dreams is your opening to your intuitive senses that will allow you, the personal you, to excel beyond what you have previously known. Everyone has intuitive senses, and very few people take advantage of what is possible by recognizing something more than their mind can understand. Creation has its place for all of us, and then there is all life, which is far more than anything than what can become with creation. Everything we experience is necessary for us to survive with whatever we choose and decide our life to be. New Kevin Smith is the great witness to something more than what can be taught and learned in any school. It can be so that when anyone first listens to Kevin's intuitive side experiences, also known as real side experiences, from what their personal mind has known, Kevin's manner of expression will at first be rather different to comprehend. This is where this introduction and reading the new books and Facebook groups will help. Have fun deciding. DUANE the Great Writer and Seer.
In this real side experience, I would be in the company of a relatively large group of individuals, and we were stationed in a bunker, the proportions of which were sizable enough to accommodate our number. The bunker itself was stationed in a rather uninviting area of multi-dimensional creation, but in actuality there is nothing of the overall simulator layout that isn't in an advanced stage of deterioration. For it is a consciousness that is the simulator affected, and as the overall consciousness engine becomes overladen with idea distortion, and indeed unconsciousness as to its design construct becomes ever more prevalent, this in turn expresses as the creational realms going through their cycles of decay. Ultimately, if this matter isn't rectified, the means of simulator reconstitution will be through awareness and the facing and releasing of all the ideas that burden it. Then implosion can be expected, and all those still floundering within its psych realms when this occurs, if they have failed to recognize the true reality from the comparison that all they are experiencing simulation-wise provides, then necessary will it be for the real awareness that they and everyone is to insert further body forms in alternative simulators, and the process continues. This unconsciousness, this agreement to distortion of ideas that are the consciousness construct, has our simulator now at the precipice of its implosion. It is on its death spiral, although many operations and initiatives are a constant in a preventative effort, but overwhelmingly the predominant expression of this is the entirety of the simulator shrouded in an oppressive darkness, appearance-wise being somewhat repelling, as indeed this area of creation the group and myself were positioned within was. An actuality of deterioration not always apparent through the perceptions of the personal self, physical level, or real side, for consciousness dictates experience to a degree, and what is experienced can be overlaid with the consciousness of programming. We may not see the simulator as it actually is, but as we think it should be, or rather as the thought ideas of others we have agreed to, all according then to the installed ideas of a consciousness. The resplendents that are the heavens of a man, the astral and mental planes, a prime example, for in reality they are just as every dimensional level is, in stark contrast to how the consciousness of programming effects the illusion of their delightful design. I'm reminded of the movie They Live as an analogy. The world looking a particular way, as according to consciousness of programming, but with the ability to see through the consciousness afforded filters, the actuality of the world was laid bare. In the case of the movie, where a certain brand of sunglasses were worn. In this experience, not only was our position in creation somewhat uninspiring, but festooned with all manner of distorted creatures and body types that roamed the harsh and gloomy environments surrounding our bunker. The bunker itself was our base of operations, for it was here, wherever in multi-dimensional creation we happened to be, that objectives were being launched from. As I write this, impressions would connect this experience with another I shared a number of months ago, where beyond the confines of a vast real-side airport would be present an ominous road through a mountainous region, though a path festooned with reptilian monstrosities. During that experience, the sense was at some stage I would have to take the treacherous trek through the monsters to access whatever lay beyond the mountains where I had business to attend to, though at the moment of that experience where this was revealed as my destiny, the time wasn't as yet right for such to be embarked upon. And now, in this current experience, seems the journey had been made, and the culmination, that which lay beyond the mountains and through the swamps of the hazardous reptilian creatures, was the position I and my group currently were in, the bunker as the launching point and central base of operations. Still within a monster-infested territory seemingly, though unperturbed, we would proceed. Impressions suggesting the group and I had accomplished a number of tasks since establishing ourselves here. The vague recollected, though a fleeting flash of one other example on waking, of a confrontation with a large dragon within one of the mountains, and where we would nullify him and be the mechanism by which his ability to continue to operate abrasively was neutralized. Our current assignment would involve our locating of a particular spot in the creational position we were in. Little would be afforded by way of impressions regarding the nature of our operation, but the means by which this position could be found was known to us, or rather to the real awareness. The real awareness being part of the isness everything that animates through all consciousness effected form and feature that it does, so every idea that underlies everything simulated is available, and every mechanism and method of operating effectively on the real side, regardless of the circumstances, is known to the real awareness, and the simulated body forms it is animating in the experiences operate accordingly. For as the group and myself traversed the rocky and gloomy environment, we came upon a more open and hospitable terrain, and now a curious light would manifest upon the ground, a light we were meant to follow, as though guiding us to the location we sought. I had the sense of having done this before, and indeed successfully being led to our target location, courtesy of the light that guided us there, but as I mentioned, more a sense stemming from the real awareness oversight of everything creational, every idea that manifests as everything simulated. This would include every experience we have been involved in, even those as yet to be revealed to the personal self, for as it then transpired, I had undertaken this very assignment already. Though this would be the first moment the personal self would be made aware of it. In reality, as everything is already complete, we are simply going through that which we already have effect formulated in accordance with our intent placement. But if the intent changes, then everything effected consequently is altered, and where I had the impression of having completed this stage of the assignment previously, in this case I would somewhat lose the leading light we were following amidst the features of the landscape we were pursuing it across, and as a consequence we would be unable to find the position we sought. As though a slight alteration to my intent and focus may have resulted in everything that stems from it simulated wise being equally as restructured, culminating in our assignment being unable to continue as it had previously, so to speak, due to how my intent, decision, and agreements had been prior to how they were in the current moment. However, we knew the light always would manifest at a certain moment, and we would endeavour to return to the same location again the following day. As I said, this was a continuation of the interdimensional human airport experience in a way, where realised was the sense of having to traverse deeper into the environment it was stationed within, and now, having done just this, a series of further stages rolling out, with the various confrontations, the dragon, as I mentioned, along the journey, and as though our progress momentarily waylaid, until perhaps an addressing of my focus and alignment of my intent to that which is life and awareness beneficial, that all effecting from it is equally aligned, and our overall assignment is now present again, and can be continued to be revealed to the personal self. We would return to the bunker, awaiting the next day and particular moment when the light would become manifest once again, settling in for the night, securing the doors, that nothing untoward and of a malicious inclination enters as we slumber. For as I said, the position we were in was awash with all manner of twisted and monstrous body forms. As the group took their rest, I would be proceeding with a task throughout the night, one that didn't make much sense to my personal self, visually speaking, but something that wasn't of importance to be known, as impressions did reveal. As I continued with it, although impossible was it for anything to enter the bunker, it seems this hadn't prevented one particular body type from gleaning access, though impressions suggested it wasn't a body form indigenous to the dimensional region we were in, more an intruder from an alternative creational position. For I would be distracted by movement, and looking up from my work, I would observe a female form gliding back and forth in the open central area of the bunker, as though she were seeking something. I was operating in a room adjacent to the central area where she was present. All that separated us was a door that in fact was open, and impressions revealed she was specifically looking for me. Though seemingly unable to pinpoint my location, my presence wasn't apparent to her, almost as though a cloaking mechanism was in effect. I realized only I could make adjustments to whatever was obscuring her ability to perceive me, as though a protective means I had put in place to avoid unnecessary entanglements as I proceeded with my night task, and I decided to determine what it was that she required of me, and somewhat removed the preventative measure that obscured me from her sight. She immediately would thus perceive me, and glide toward me with what impressions revealed were malicious intentions. For she didn't so much walk as float across the ground, almost apparitional, though I could not determine if her legs were propelling her motion, as they were concealed, as was the entirety of her body, in a resplendent black gown. Her face was a mask of abject grotesquerie, humanoid, but only loosely, more gargoyle-like in its visage, and she was evidently attempting to induce maximum terror by distorting her features to the extreme, as she now stood face to face with me. Although, regardless of a body type's developed ability or strength, that a body type can impact me adversely is an idea. This idea I must agree with, that it can become my simulated experience in relation to the individual. All potential interactions, and the nature they may take, can be formulated as ideas, but just like files on a computer, I must upload them that they become part of my computer experience, or despite the individual's best efforts, if indeed the idea they have formulated in conjunction with their body type is my harm or destruction, this cannot be my experience in relation to them, and the simulation plays out accordingly in whatever way it might, overall as the individual's inability to exact adverse impact to my body form. And so, regardless of this female's desires, her antagonistic bent, she was incapable of doing anything other than attempt to induce fear within myself through her outward appearance. For if we respond with created emotion, we are removed from the nowness of our real awareness standing, where momentarily we are absent of the virtually unlimited ability it can afford, rendering us more vulnerable on the real side. Additionally, a created response is agreement to that which induced our reactions. Ideas that seize our focus and attention is a mechanism of agreement trolling, and of course, where we decide to apply emotional reaction to the ideas being created in our midst, then naturally we indeed are locking in with the ideas. And not only will we experience the effects, but the additional, unseen ideas in association. As a surface idea is seldomly absent of ideas in affiliation, including the consciousness that manifested them, a consciousness of intentionality we also take on. In essence, then, if I indeed am moved to react emotionally to the female, that fear is induced, as she evidently was attempting to elicit, then I am in agreement with the idea that she represents, her consciousness and intent, which was to bestow harm upon me. This then would be my experience in relation to her. I literally would have afforded her permissions to adversely impact my body form, as though an agreed to movie script shared between her and myself. That although our assignment was temporarily curtailed, this development presented as opportunity, and perhaps this was the reason for our operation failure, that I would instead have dealings with this female. No impressions would reveal as to her identity, though the sense was of her being an individual of significance, ill-intended and abrasively operating as she chose to be, perhaps a highly positioned dark force character or other that had zeroed in on my approximate position. She had then been hunting me seemingly, but having found her quarry, was unable to do anything other than attempt to have me react with a fear, which, as I explained, would allow her then to carry out her abrasive intentions. Our primary purpose is to present the opportunity of a creational extraction through an awareness process that will facilitate the releasing of that which binds all to the simulators, the agreements and attachments of the consciousness, and potentially then the option of recognizing the all-is and positioning as the real awareness true beings we all actually are, absent of the need or necessity of the created body forms. And so we deliver this option, and indeed real purpose, indiscriminately, and irrespective of an individual's life choices and decisions, for underlying it all is the same real awareness, with ultimately the same all-is recognizing imperative. This would be the case here, with this prominent, ill-intended character. As I mentioned, every situation is an opportunity to share the all-is references. I would begin to sing the new you, the sound-light true reality connection that either serves as a repellent for all things untoward, or the opposite, an attracting mechanism for those who have the slightest spark of recognition of what the sound represents, and are perhaps ready and receptive for more than continued immersion with the personal self-consciousness and restricting a creation. As I said, underlying it all is the same real awareness that is part of the true reality that the new you sound connects with. This female would as though follow me through from the real side to the physical, for I have a developed facility where I can maintain an awareness position that bridges the real side and the physical level, which is referred to as a hypnagogic state, a position where we are not quite awake, experiencing the physical level through the physical body forms, but not quite asleep, where we are absent of the physical level affording physical level form apparatus, and at liberty to explore multi-dimensionally. With this position maintained, what I call the in-between state, so the physical level will be present as the overall backdrop, but elements and features of other dimensions can manifest additionally, those that would be present within their own respective real-side environments, body types included, that from their perspective they and ourselves are operating on their dimensional turf, so to speak, but from the perspective of one viewing from the in-between state, they are featuring within our physical level environments. In this case, the female would be present in my bedroom. She would somewhat cling to me, her body form comprising of enveloping folds of blackness, almost gelatinous in its construction, as though she were comprising of a kind of slime. And from this between state and in my bedroom I would continue to sing the new you, and interspersing each round would enlighten her as to the real references, the purpose of creation, and the mechanics of the simulators, their cause and effect nature, etc. She was very receptive to what I was providing, no longer malicious in her intentions. though as she began to grope my genitalia, seems she was desiring something else, and it was necessary to rather remove her hand from my nether regions and attempt to continue to steer her focus to that which I was conveying. It was rather a curious sensation of being enveloped in her sticky, gelatinous, undulating body form, as she maintained the want to cling to me, but impressions revealed she was open to what I was revealing. And as I mentioned, impressions also unveiling that although her exact identity wasn't made apparent, she represented an individual of significance, and where it comes to such beings, they can be rather instrumental and influential, their reach extending further than most. The dark forces, in all their expressions, are natural risk-takers, and if we can bring them around to stepping up and operating in life and awareness beneficial capacities, they can prove to be valuable assets. Although it must be stated that every being is precious, every awareness as a part of life. And the experience would end as the female faded away in actuality. I removed myself from the between state, and my view was of the physical level in its entirety, absent of real side other dimensional bleedovers. Very possibly I was still then in her company on the real side, and continuing to afford her the real references and real education, etc. And as for my ongoing assignment momentarily curtailed, very possibly more may be revealed to the personal self in regards to its unfolding and development in the moments to come.